So we're going to be making a copper finial this week, but I wanted to do a little bit of math for this episode to show you how I get certain things like octagons and hexagons for some of my pieces. So we're going to be doing a octagon finial on a gazebo made out of copper. So what I've done is I've gone up on the roof and I figured out that I want to be at 5 inches at the peak of the gazebo. So that's going to be my starting measurement. So I'm going to show you how to turn that into an octagon from just a single measurement. So we're going to start with our 5-inch line, and we're going to start A, B. So what we want to do first is take a set of dividers, and we want to bisect AB. Draw a line high enough so that we could hit the center of our circle. So now that we have that, we want to go from the midpoint to either A or B and draw a line up. That's going to be our first point. Now we want to go from the midpoint to either A or B again and draw a line to that. That is now the center of our circle. Now we don't know what our circle is going to come out. We just know that we want to start with this measurement. So now what we want to do is we want to go from the center of our circle to, again, either A or B and scribe out our circle. So this is now going to be the base of our finial, but now we're going to break it up into 8 equal parts. Now we want to go back again and we want to get A to B on our dividers. So now that we have A to B on our dividers, we're going to break our circle up into 8 equal segments. Now sometimes when you do this, it always doesn't come out perfect. We're dealing with pencil, we're dealing with marker. If you're a 1/16 of an inch off on this measurement, over 8 segments, it's going to grow a 1/2 inch. So you may have to make an adjustment once or twice to get them perfect. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we actually hit it right on the money this time. And 7, 8. So now we want to draw it out. And I'll show you more of this when we lay out the fitting of what we're going to use here. We don't actually need the whole octagon. But what we're using this octagon for is for our plan view for our finial. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw out our finial here, and we're going to transfer the marks through the octagon and then out on the side to make our gore, one of our 8 cheeks that are going to go on our copper finial. Something under my metal there. So now that we have that, we don't have to do this, but we could divide it up. I'm only concerned about one angle here. Now an octagon is 8 sides, so 360 degrees divided by 8 is 45. So each one of these turns is 45, but each individual segment where they meet is 22.5 degrees. That's really the only thing I need to know. So this is a little bit of triangulation and parallel line development at the same time. We're using the plan view that we're making now to triangulate our points through, and then we're going to use parallel line development to bring the sides of the finial through and onto the pattern. So that's how we get an octagon from a single line. Okay, so now, we'll lay out a hexagon. So to lay out a hexagon, I want to label A and B. And we're not going to bisect this time, we're just going to come up. And we're going to create an apex for our center line for our circle. Then we want to just come down to either A or B. Draw our circle. And then again, as before, we're just going to go from A to B. And we're going to use that to draw out our circle. And we're a hair off on that one. And there we have it. So again, like I said before, if you're even the slightest bit off, it's going to grow on you over all those spaces. So the most two common things we lay out in are octagons and hexagons for gazebos, but we can lay out in dodecagons, decagons, which are 10 and 12 sides. So there we have a hexagon. And again, as I was stating before, when we go to lay this out, we're going to draw out our fitting here, and then we're going to transfer through our fitting. But when we do a hexagon, we're actually going to have to bring it out from another side because we don't have a flat side here. So we're going to end up laying into it and then out of it again. Sorry, my camera went dead on there. So when I explained the octagon before, we had 45 degrees. Well, on a hexagon, we have 60 degrees. So each intersection is 30 degrees. So that's how we get that. And if we had to lay this out, we would only need to lay out a 30-degree line to transfer our points through. But we'll get into that when we make the fitting. So if we wanted to lay out a pentagon, not that we work in pentagons that much, but if you wanted to make like one of those stars that people put on the side of their house, we can do that too with one line. So the first thing we would do is we would draw a circle. Draw another intersecting circle. Then we would bisect our line. We would draw another circle. Then we would pick up a series of points from here and here. Catch that arc. Catch this arc. And we still already have our divider set here. Bisect that line. And that would give us a pentagon. And if we are correct, all sides should be equal. You could lay out your star depending on how big you want to make it. You want to figure out how you want to make that center section. But then you would just find your intersects here can even remember how to do this. Find your intersections. And then you can lay out a star, find your midpoints here through the center of these, and you could actually lay out one of those stars that people put on the side of their house. So that's how you would do that. We could make an episode out of that. Hope you enjoyed this video. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to lay out a octagon finial for a gazebo, and we're going to do that on ram board that they sell at the big box store. Because this way, once we lay the pattern out, we can cut a couple patterns out, tape them together, and make sure everything fits. Copper is $280 a sheet right now, so the last thing I want to do is make any mistakes, so that's the way we're going to do that. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.